What can we learn from Schlechtly's levels of engagement? When I was reviewing this, I realized that there are a lot of connections to art, but maybe instead of engagement, we can call it levels of participation. And I came up with this chart to kind of break down his work into a way that would connect with art teachers. So there are 5 distinct levels of participation that he kind of points out, and I think we can cater our lessons to try and achieve the highest level of engagement possible by what it is we plan with our students. So the lowest level is called rebellion. This is the student who flat out refuses to participate and actively makes the room a hostile environment. They stop other students from also participating. These are the students that we've had once in a while, and usually this behavior has very little to do with what's going on in the art room. It has often something to go with what's going on at home or possibly in another class or stresses the student is facing. And rather than getting angry or yelling at the student, we need to find them help. And that can be sending them to the office to cool out a little bit, connecting with a counselor, connecting with a parent. But no art is going to happen, and actually having that student in our class while they're being this way can damage the interest of the other students because now they're all focused on that behavior. The next level of engagement is called avoidance. And this is where the artist makes little, if any, attempt to create a work of art. They're just barely kind of paying attention. They're kind of following directions. They're not disrupting other students, but they're operating at the lowest level of possible art making in the class. This could be because they're not interested in the exploration that you've designed for them, or again, there may be things in their lives that are distracting them from potentially making some art. So the artist does not fully participate and learns little or nothing from the experience. Our next level is where a lot of students sort of fall into, and that's called ritual compliance. They don't want to be bothered, but they want to pass. So they look like they're doing just enough work that you will leave them alone. It looks like they're doing their stuff, but they just really don't want to be confronted. They're kind of going through the motions. They're not excited by the exploration that you've designed for them. And again, it could be outside influences. Maybe their peers are saying, oh, art's not cool, and we need to kind of work through that with the student. But they're doing just enough to kind of pass, and student learning is going to be very superficial without any kind of depth. The next one, which we hope at least our students are getting into, is called strategic compliance. This is where they have high attention but relatively low commitment to what's going on in the classroom. This is not where I really want my students to be, but I understand that that's sometimes how they're going to approach it. They are playing the game of school. The artwork may have some connection and some value to them, but a good grade is the desired outcome. It's not really about artistic expression for them. The student avoids difficult challenges that are visual, and it does not, as long as it doesn't affect their grade, they're not going to really try. It also means they're not going to retain the information that they're hopefully learning through the process of your exploration or lesson. And that's kind of all they care about. They just want to get through, and they are, like I said, playing the game of school. The big goal that we want to shoot for is called active engagement. And that's where the student has high attention and high commitment to the lesson that you are presenting. So the artist is taking their work seriously. They're creating artwork that has meaning and personal value. The artist is working through challenging visual problems. They're learning at the highest levels possible. Grades are generally not a concern for this student. They're personally connected to the work and they care about what's going to happen. And again, the grade doesn't really matter. This is where we would love our students to be. This is how we try to plan our lessons to get that active engagement out of our students. And the only way to really do that is to make sure that the plans, the lessons, the explorations that we're creating will have some kind of personal connection. Otherwise, why bother? So behind me I have some examples from a recent lesson that I did on cell phone lock screens. And the students did a little bit of a math problem to figure out what the aspect ratio was of their individual phone. We did some cross multiplication to figure out, well, if the final paper is 18 inches tall, how wide is that paper going to be? So that's the little index cards that are underneath. That's showing off their math work. And then they did a lot of sketching and planning to kind of figure out 4 ideas that they would use for their cell phone screen to express themselves, their point of view, their interests, etc. So right away there was some buy-in, and students, as you know, in high school are like addicted to their phones. So they see it all the time, and now they're making an artwork that's going to be the first thing someone sees if they pick up that phone. So they're interested. There's some buy-in. They want that to look good, and they want it to express something about themselves. So once we got our sketches done, then we went on to the final paper, and they were able to use any of the materials that I had available to them that we had learned about. So a lot of them did color pencils, some of them did some collage kinds of things, some connected to culture. So it was very engaging. There was very little of me kind of pulling teeth to get them to work. They saw their peers working, they were excited about their work. I was giving tips along the way about blending colors, about using water on watercolor pencils to layer our colors, and how to make sure that our pencil strokes didn't become too jagged or distracting. So all of these tips lent to a final project that the students were very proud of, and many of them put this on the lock screen of their phones. So to get that high level of engagement, we need to create lessons that will grab our students and keep their interest. This also means letting go of the make and take model of lesson planning, where we have a thing the students need to make, and their grade is based on how well their thing matches our thing, and there's no real personal connection there. So why bother? You may be, as the teacher, you may be excited about it. You may find that this thing is really cute or very interesting. But to bridge that gap of generations and get them interested, that's the trick to art education. And to also connect that with the things you want them to learn about, whether it is color blending, color change, layering of colors, etc. And if you can, like I did, make some sort of core content connection. So that little bitty math problem that they did at the beginning of their project. And you too can have active engagement, high attention, and high commitment from your students. If you found this really helpful, go ahead and click the links below, subscribe, and I will have some links to this poster in the description below. Thank you.